We're going to go over the 8 influential points. So, one of the best ways to remember these is putting them together in pairs. So, the easiest one is Zhang Fu. Zhang, of course, is yin, and Fu is yang. We have qi and blood. Qi is also yang, blood is yin. You don't have to know if it's yin and yang, but if you understand that they are kind of paired together, it kind of makes sense. Like qi and blood, they're always paired together when we talk about it in TCM. Jiangfu, they're paired together. And sinews and marrow, that's paired together. And then bone and vessels, you can also pair them together. You can also get a very visual, like marrow, bone marrow, and the sinews kind of are intertwined together atomically. And then the bone and the vessels are the same. So you can think of it in that kind of perspective, and it'll help you to understand that these are the 8 influential, and then you can memorize them in pairs. So the first one we're gonna actually do here, I should have actually paired them according to the pairs. I didn't quite do that here, unfortunately. I think when I was assembling them, I didn't think about it, but we'll go with blood vessels. So if we do, let's do Zhang Fu first. So we're gonna look for Zhang. Zhang is going to be liver 13. We also know that liver 13 is also a front mu point. Gonna give you a few seconds if you guys can recall. Liver 13 is going to be the Zhang Fu. The front mu of the spleen. And we also always say it's going to be the 11th floating rib, because the one that we paired with the spleen, there's the kidney front mu. The kidney front mu is going to be the 12th floating rib, if we recall, right on the lateral side of the free end. And that's going to be gallbladder 25. So liver 13 has already 2 functions, the front mu, but also it's the influential point of Zhang. Okay, and we have Fu now, which is the yang. So Fu is actually going to be the midline of ab before Sun up. So we know the belly button right here is Ren 8, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Because we know from the sternum right here, or I should say, sorry, the sternum should be here. The sternum is this thing itself. So the sternocostal angle right here, and then from Ren 8, this is 8 Sun, this up or down. So it's 4 Sun, so it's in between from here and here. And that's Ren 12. We also see Ren 12 in the front mu. Does anybody recall where we see that as well? It's where there were three that I clustered together for the front mu. If anyone recalls, in the very front upper part of the chest. So so we had PC, and then we had the heart, and then the stomach. And this was Ren 17, Ren 14, and Ren 12. So Fu is actually supposed to be for yang associated, right? So Ren 12, just like for the front mu of the stomach, is Ren 12 as well. Here, for the influential, Ren 12 represents Fu. Fu is also the organs that are the yang organs, right? So that's how you can recall these two. So these two are repeats. So liver 13 is Zhang, and then Ren 12 is Fu. So it's Zhang Fu. So after Zhang Fu, we have Qi and blood. So where does Qi come from? This is another repeat from front mu. So Ren 17 is actually in between the very midline of the 2 nipples. So it's the anterior midline. Anterior as in it's the front of the body, and that's the midline. But it's also, we can reference it as the 4th intercostal space midway between the two nipples. So you can say it's the fourth intercostal space, midline anterior, or you can say, in the midpoint of the but in the anterior midline, and what is in between the two nipples. Now, Ren 17 gets repeated one more time, just like the front mu, and that would be the PC. So we already learned that there's already 3 repeats from the front mu and the influential points. So this can be something that's going to be helpful or maybe not, but just recall that Zhang is yin, and so that represents by liver, 13. And Fu, as in like in the front mu, it's for the stomach. It's going to have the same, this is going to have 2 functions, Ren 12, going to be influential of Fu. And then this is going to be front mu of PC, but also the influential of Qi. This is where it is, Ren 17. So then we're going to have blood. Blood is UB17. So the way I recall studying this, when I was doing the UB line, the back shoe points, as being some of them being the influential points, it's not exactly the number, but I was saying that, you develop your bone sometime around like 11, UB11, which is like age 11, and then I said you become an adult of womanhood somewhere around like 17. It doesn't really serve that purpose in that kind of way, but that was one of the ways I remembered it. So UB17, we also remember it as influential of blood. It is not the outer shoe, it is the inner shoe. So it's 1 point soon lateral at the lower border of spinous process, T7. This is also where the diaphragm is. It is level 2, do 9. And later recall how to memorize the do back points later. But just know that the UB17 is parallel with do 9. It's also at T7 where the diaphragm is. Okay, now after that we have sinews and marrow. So sinews and marrows, no surprise, it's a yang wood element for the GB, and it's associated together because we know that the command of the sinews, right, is going to be at GB 34. So it's no surprise that sinews and marrow, they go together atomically. So that's why they're both represented by the GB channel, GB point. So influential point of the sinews is going to be GB 34. It's a depression that's anterior inferior to the head of the fibula. So the fibula's head's right here. So this is the fibula bone, as we recall in anatomy class. This is the head, but it's anterior and inferior, and that's how you measure it, right? And so for the bone, it's going to be GB 39. It's 3 soon up from the tip of the exterior malleolus, depression between the posterior of the fibula. So as you know, GB, right? This is the exterior or lateral malleolus outside, right here. We know there's points that go behind the fibula and then in front of the fibula. This is the one that goes posterior to the fibula, but it's 3 soon up. That's GB 39. And this one is, of course, the head of the fibula, anterior inferior to the head of the fibula. GB 39 is 3 soon up, behind posterior to the fibula, but it goes 3 soon up from the external malleolus. Okay, so just remember that these two are associated like that. And then now we have bone and vessels. So we already went for bone, UB 11, which is right here. And that's also the outer shoe. Inner shoe. 1.5 soon lateral at the lower border of the spinous process, and that would be T1. This is also leveled with do 13. So this is for bones. So UB11 is for bones, UB17 is for blood. This is at T1, and this one is at T3. This one's leveled with do 9, and this is leveled with do 13. As you know, the do line goes up this way. Okay. And then we have the blood vessels. So that is represented by long 9. It's at the radial end of the transverse wrist crease, lateral to the side of the radial artery. It's right here. That's long 9. You may ask, why is the blood vessel influential of the blood vessel supposed to be maybe a long point? Maybe you can think of it as I'm not sure how to think of this. Let me think of something. Because I know that most people would kind of associate blood vessels with the heart, because that's where the blood gets pumped out all the time. And then it gets stored and so such. But the way I think of it is that although the source of where the blood gets pumped and from and out is the heart, the blood vessels are what connects. It's the passage that transports the blood, right? And I don't think that blood can really circulate without qi. And the source of like descending qi and then dispersing qi, right, is functioned by the lungs. And so I think it indirectly controls the influence of the blood vessels. It's almost like a supporting system. The lung supports it. And so I think that's probably why the lung 9 is represented blood vessels. And one of the ways you can think of it is like the radial artery. This is a very big one. We don't want to, needle this. This is one of those ones where you have to avoid when you're needling with points in the lung. So it's on the radial side, right, in the transverse wrist crease, and it's on the lateral side of the radial artery. So you can think of it that way. And that's probably why we have the influential of blood vessels to be lung 9. I hope that was helpful for everyone to recall. It is good to remember them in pairs. If you can recall how they overlap with other categorical points, that's also helpful as well. And try to, figure out a reason why certain points of the channels are picked out or selected to be the influential points. Okay?